What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome. I am the Crypto Crow. It's about 3:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am live today. I am live on YouTube and Twitter. If you don't mind, make sure you drop me a follow and a subscribe on both platforms because you never know what's going to happen with any of these platforms. Today, we're going to be talking about Midnight, Cardano's more, I guess you could say, privacy-based sidechain with a whole bunch of other bells and whistles. And we're going to be diving into Midnight a bit the rest of this week. So hopefully you're interested because I see a lot of big things coming. And also make sure you look down. There's a link. Make sure you visit wargram.io if you're interested in blockchain-based trading card games, because I've got a doozy in development. We're currently in alpha play testing right now with a whole bunch of stuff coming. And I've been talking to my developer, my lead developer, project coordinator. We have a team, actually. I have a team building this game. And it's coming along really well. I've updated the current website, but we're going to be redoing the entire thing because Wargram is actually going to be integrated into the website. You're going to be able to play this game on your phone, on your iPad, on your PC, maybe even consoles. We're going to see. We're working on things. And so, yeah, hit that like if you don't mind. And let's go ahead and dive into what's going on, because I'm actually going to record a couple videos today after this that I'm going to schedule out for this week. I've got some really cool stuff, man. I've got stuff on Midnight. I've got stuff on a big Ethereum conspiracy that sounds really, really crazy and interesting I'm going to do. And I got another video basically on Solana because it's not doing well. I'm not talking about price, but it's not doing well in terms of failed transactions and all those things. It just doesn't add up. And we're going to dive into a lot of those things this week. So let's take a look at what's going on with Cardano's Midnight, because I think this is a really big deal. And I'm actually really pumped about Midnight. And I think a lot is going to be happening. So this is Midnight on Twitter, and I'm starting to use Twitter as much as my main news source as I am anything else. This is Ada Plug. This is my Cardano news website. It's still going. It's aggregating feeds from all over the place. There are some websites on here that are basically just paid advertisement shills that they and you kind of know it when you see it. You look on the site and you'll see there's articles. Like if it's talking about a brand new coin and then it uses Cardano in the headline, it's trying to draw attention to it to promote some promoted like paid advertisement meme shitcoin out there. But anyway, but Ada Plug is still a thing. I haven't worked on it a lot lately, but I probably will. At some point I want to have somebody manage it and really kind of help grow it out. I want to put an automated advertisement system in there for people that want to support it and just generate some ads off of the views as it grows. So at some point I'll have somebody take that over and manage it for me, make them a partner or something. So but anyway, so we're going to dive into this Midnight. It's a series of tweets that we're going to kind of break down in this video. And let's see, that's a good way of doing it. All right. So this is all about Midnight for gaming as it relates to its potential use cases in the gaming industry, which I have a particular interest in right now for obvious reasons. So scalable proof of ownership, blockchain and zero knowledge proof, ZKP. So remember this when you see ZKP moving forward, because this is going to be, it's just one of those little things that they're going to be using a lot. Blockchain and zero knowledge proof technology has the potential to enable secure, transformative features for both gamers and developers. Unlike the gaming industry today, the security and flexibility of Midnight's architecture helps users to protect their sensitive information and maintain their preferred level of privacy while supporting developer adherence with regulation. I think regulation is going to be a really big key role in Midnight. And I'm sure compliance and a lot of these other things are definitely going to be definitely a big deal. Transferring and trading digital assets and collectibles. This is going to be a big deal to me because my Wargram game It's all going to be about, it's going to take NFTs. So you're going to buy booster packs. You're going to crack like 6 or 7 cards in a booster. You're going to get varied rarities within those NFTs that you're going to use to build your deck. And then you're also going to get a resource card in those booster packs. And you're going to have to collect these resource cards and collect a certain number of each different types of resource card to create new legendary, really, really rare gear that you're going to be able to use in your decks. And so transferring and trading of these assets is going to be a big deal. We're basically building, I think we're building our own internal NFT marketplace specifically for the game that's going to be embedded in the game. So you can basically do everything from within the game. I'm telling you, it's a lot. It's a lot. And we are going to be using Crow tokens for elements of this. We're going to be using ADA for the bulk of it, but we are going to be using Crow tokens for things. We're just trying to narrow down exactly what we're going to do. I presented a list in Discord, in the Wargrim Discord, with like 8 different options. Like, hey, what do you guys think of doing any of this? And everybody's like, yes, all of it. Everybody's all pumped up. And I noticed that the Crow tokens pumped yesterday. It wasn't my intention. And I want everybody to know too, like the Crow token, it's 100% fair launch token that I launched a while back, is more of a kind of a legacy token for myself. And I did 100% fair launch. I donated all I paid like a lot, I paid a lot to do this. And we locked up the liquidity for like 100 years. And I had to buy it all, any of the Crow tokens I wanted for myself for use of anything, I had to buy back basically from the liquidity pool. It was a big convoluted thing, but it was basically like 100% fair. Like I didn't have any advantage. As a matter of fact, it cost me double what it should have because I waited and I announced it. And immediately when I announced it, everybody ran out and bought it, jacked the price up on me. So I got half of the Crow tokens I actually wanted. But it is what it is. So, and I gave away a whole bunch of them. I did airdrops. I didn't announce anything. You just had them. If you'd supported me here, or there, you just got a bunch of Crow tokens for free. I just tried to do everything I could to just try and spread the love and make absolutely no promises whatsoever, which is not my way. I don't want to make any promises and fail to deliver. I'd rather tell you don't expect shit and just surprise you along the way. And that's ultimately what we're working on now. So there's definitely some cool stuff coming. I can say that. So protecting player progress and achievements, another big deal, especially for trading card games like Wargrim. This is going to be a big deal because we're going to have tournaments and ladders, and we want to be able to basically store all the statistics of each player. And like every player is going to have a registered profile related to their wallet address. That's going to basically, the system's going to read their wallet address and basically say, okay, you own all of these NFTs. So you're going to be able to create decks out of these cards that you actually own. And so that's going to be really cool. Allowing multiple games to authenticate, attract, and reward gamers from different ecosystems. Now, that is actually really, really interesting. So, in essence, if I wanted to create kind of a cross-platform type of game, I should be able to do that utilizing the different ecosystems within each of those blockchains, is what I'm reading. Midnight gaming fairness and compliance. ZKPs could be used to tackle online hacks and cheats in multiplayer games by verifying stats and abilities of participating players without divulging sensitive metrics or IP related to the underlying game design that could be used. It's one thing about Twitter that kind of sucks. You have to click around a lot. Game that could be used by other developers to gain a competitive advantage. Okay. Currently, game developers also require players to share sensitive personal information like age for compliance purposes. Midnight, on the other hand, allows developers to enable selective disclosure to verify details like age and regulated gaming environments without requiring users to reveal sensitive data, using the power of zero knowledge proofs. Now, here's the thing too, and this is something that I said since the very beginning of the announcement of Midnight. I can absolutely see Midnight being used for democratic elections. And when I did the video recently about how the Cardano, Cardano Foundation, and everybody. They've been basically tapped to say, hey, can you help us with some of the different elections in some of these U.S. states? And the challenge is getting something built in a timely fashion to enable them to do this. And I think Midnight may very well be the ticket for doing exactly that. Midnight aims to empower developers to create the next generation of secure, scalable, decentralized gaming experiences, including decentralized fantasy sports platforms, basically like your fantasy football and things like that, self-custodial gaming collectible exchanges, secure financial settlement for crowd-funded game projects. That's pretty baller. DAO community models for governing developer updates and changes. And then finally in the list here, stay tuned for more on what Midnight will bring to gaming. Next week, we'll be exploring some of the unique possibilities Midnight unlocks in the environmental tech space. See you then. So we can go ahead, because we don't want this video to be too short. Here we are. This is basically what they're saying about Midnight effectively helping in the environmental tech space. So we're going to dive into this. Open to developers. No, this isn't the one I wanted. Hold on. I want to pull this up because I want to dive into this a little bit. It's just more features. No. So the DevNet is open. Okay, here Midnight for the environment. Now this is going to be geared a little bit more towards developers, but I think this is also. I think that the breakdown for how it can affect the gaming industry was a really important thing, and these are going to be pretty important for people that are actually looking to develop on it. So it's important to me. So I'm going to share it. Carbon footprint tracking. With today's focus on sustainability, let's talk about the opportunities Midnight unlocks in the climate tech space. Businesses with environmental, social, and governance goals, ESG, we all know and love that, and targets face disclosure challenges involving sensitive information, such as processes, suppliers, and IP. So this is obviously a really big deal. And ultimately what Midnight is trying to address, which is why I think that it can ultimately be effectively used in voting, is the developers can basically dictate what information is public and what is transacted but wrapped up, almost like I would consider it like redacted documents, right? You know, if you get access to a document and the person that wrote it or the person that's controlling the information doesn't want you to see this line or that line, they can redact it. And I almost feel like that's basically what Midnight is trying to say they can do, and they can do it on the blockchain. Some information is readily available to the public, while some of the more sensitive key materials within a transaction or an application or what have you can ultimately be redacted from the public so that it's secure, but you can still remain compliant on the back end. I'm telling you, the use cases for something like this actually gets kind of scary if you think about it. Midnight zero knowledge proof technology enables businesses to demonstrate their ESG efforts and achievements without disclosing confidential or sensitive information to competitors or other people that just have prying eyes and really have no business knowing certain things, and also helps individual participants preserve anonymity. Anonymity. That word has always choked me up since I was a kid. Anonymity. Anonymity. Yeah, there it is. And protect their sensitive lifestyle information. Carbon credit tokenization. Bill Gates is going to get a lot of these. The Midnight Network can help developers level up climate tech by enabling frameworks for verifying and tokenizing carbon credits using zero knowledge tech, allowing businesses and individuals to earn and trade securely. Why is me reading this suddenly feeling like, you know, maybe this could ultimately be utilized for like a CBDC that's kind of able to track and monitor certain things and reward you for having a good social score? I know I'm talking about Midnight and I'm talking about Cardano, but I call it as I see it. some of this looks a little like, even though Charles is always actively voicing against a lot of the kind of the woke agendas, so to speak. I feel like, he's saying one thing, but some of this stuff really does kind of play into the to that grand narrative. I'd love to get Charles on to talk about this. I've reached out to him. I don't know how many times. He really does he doesn't say anything. He did congratulate me on the fight, but other than that, he says, "Oh, I can't wait to go live with Crow," and then I reach out to him, and then he doesn't do anything. And I'm like, maybe you guys can lean on him a little bit, because we need to do it. I want to talk to him about these things, and because some of this stuff does read like, okay, what are we really building here? Granted, the use case is fundamentally sound, and I'm sure it's going to be very, very expansive and great for price go up and number go up and all of that other fun stuff and on-chain metrics and everything. That's all going to be fantastic. But what exactly are we building? Is this just to show and to demonstrate? Listen, it can be used for this, it can be used for that. And we're just breaking down all the potential use cases, but not necessarily with it being the focus of its development. But I have to say, I do question it a little bit. Empowering compliant actors to stake, trade, or vote on sustainability initiatives and projects through a decentralized, collaboratively governed blockchain network. Okay. Empowering organizations or governments to build ESG tracking empowering organizations. I haven't read all these, just so you know. I love going through things live with you. I see stuff and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go live and talk about it. I haven't read through this yet. ESG tracking platforms for customer feedback and participation, incentivizing participation without creating on-chain metadata that could compromise business or individual data autonomy. Okay. All right. Very interesting. Let's keep going. Connected agriculture. The Midnight Network can help developers improve processes and support the sustainability goals of modern agriculture without disclosing sensitive data to competitors or us, if we want to know. dApps built on Midnight can harness the power of Internet of Things. This is going to be huge. Internet of Things is going to be exceedingly more. I've been calling Internet of Things like the 2030 use case of the century, because let me put this into perspective here. Let's just say that we do end up in some form of a technocracy in the future. Okay, let's just play science fiction for a minute. And in this technocracy, we basically have an appointed panel of people, scientists, engineers, economists, you name it. And maybe we'll call them the Magic Seven, okay? And there's 7 people on this board. And they make all the decisions moving forward. There is no more democracy. There is no more democratic elect this, democratic elect that. There is none of that anymore. We have a technocracy of people that we put in place that are experts in their field, and they're, you're going to have guys like Bill Gates as a part of this. I mean, just so you know, if this were to come to fruition in our science fiction future. And then we have CBDCs that are basically controlled and monitored by the major banking cartels, or institutions. And they basically are going to dictate what you can do with that money. If you're on welfare of any kind, they're going to send you your monthly allotment of CBDC tokens, and they're going to say, okay, you can only buy this much meat. You can only spend this much in fuel. You can only do X, Y, Z. And the social credit score that's tied to your app on your phone, which is where you're going to receive your CBDCs most likely, and you're going to transact with them, because even though there are a lot of people in this country that apparently can't get IDs, they all have cell phones. So you can get one but not the other, even though you can't really get one without having the other. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, but that's not for me to decide. But let's just say that we have these CBDCs, and we're all basically tied into this social economic system. As long as you play your cards right, you keep your mouth shut, and you do what you're told, and you spend your money in the ways that are more fruitful for you and fruitful for the corporations that are ultimately kind of fueling this effort, then a lot of the interactivity and the things that you do, they want to be able to see what you do on the back end, but they don't want people to be able to trace everything you do for security and privacy reasons on the front end. So if I go and I buy a 16-ounce steak, if all of that is on a blockchain and that's all being monitored, they're not going to want they don't want the public to know, oh, this famous person just bought a big 16-ounce steak. That's not good. But we know, and we like to know things. And maybe when you do that, maybe your social credit score drops a little bit. Maybe the amount of money that you're able to spend on steak the next month is reduced. And if you try to go above that, you're going to be penalized. There's a whole thing to this. And so Internet of Things is ultimately going to be a point where everything that we interact with, from our biometrics, things like Neuralink and all of that, that's going to play a role. Your car, if all of our vehicles are electric, and our cars are going to recognize us, where we go, how much we drive, all of that stuff, that's all going to be monitored. It's all going to be a part of the sci-fi future, right? And so, and we're going to be trackable literally everywhere. We already are with our phones, but this is going to take things to another level, because let's just say we're going somewhere we're not supposed to go for one reason or another. Well, they can just remotely shut your car down. And that's one of the things they can do with electric vehicles. And a lot of this stuff is already happening in China, for those of you that don't know. Internet of Things can monitor everything and control everything from your phone to your watch to your refrigerator. Your refrigerator can send back reports on, you've got this many steaks in the freezer. You've got this much milk in the fridge. You've got, these are the kind of foods that you're buying. I mean, if we think that our phones today are invasive, where if we talk about something, I get ads all the time from on my phone about things that I just discuss casually with my wife or friends or anybody, and then I'll even see TikToks pop up. Yesterday, my wife was talking about always focusing, always working on being a better person, always trying to keep her thoughts in control, because my wife has OCD, right? And she can get trapped in like negative thoughts sometimes, and she works really hard at controlling that and overcoming that and not letting it control her. And we had this big conversation all about it. And sure enough, the next day, on one of the first videos that I opened up on TikTok, was this guy talking about how to live your life to control your thoughts and blah, 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 and how to be a certain way. And I'm like, the phone's always listening. So what happens when everything that we own and do and utilize in our day-to-day life is listening and paying attention? And not only that, but sending reports back to whatever systems are in place to monitor how we live. That is going to be the sci-fi future. And everything that I'm reading with Midnight sounds like, well, there's no better blockchain than Midnight to operate this kind of stuff on. Smart contract automation and public ledgers to vastly improve productivity through more connected, sustainable supply chains, new types of which, sustainable supply chains. Obviously, supply chains have been a factor the last several years, right? New types of financing, better traceability of goods. Yeah, they want to know where it goes, who's buying it, how much of it is being consumed, all of that. Tools for tracking sustainability and crop harvest and transportation. Did Bill Gates write this himself? Where is all the, this is actually kind of freaking me out a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Enhanced livestock management, decentralized trading and proof of ownership platforms. I'm going to get to the end of this, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit more. This is actually not sitting well with me somehow. There are just a few secure, scalable data protection possibilities that Midnight will bring to the environmental tech space. Okay, so that was the bulk of it. What are you guys thinking about this? This is the first I've read through all of these, and it's like I'm reading it. I'm reading it twofold. I'm reading it in one regard that if you want to play with the big boys in the big biotech economical game that is ultimately being cultivated right now, with, I think, the big head of it that's going to just burst out of the water like a big Leviathan by 2030. And basically the world as we know it, I mean, think about it. AI is going to run everything. AI is literally going to run everything between now and 2030. The technology in AI is consistently doubling in power. It's growing and growing and growing. I just watched a video this morning, I think it was, about this new AI platform that basically creates lip syncing for AI generated video, and it was flawless. I mean, we're reaching a point, and I mean, hell, we're in 2024. We've got 6 years. Where do you think AI just basically burst onto the scene, what, a year or two ago? Where do you think AI is going to be in the next 6 years by 2030? We already know that the government's utilizing AI with the IRS and monitoring inflow and outflow of personal and business accounts. We've seen that. We've seen how AI is being used across the board in just about every field as it is. And a lot of the big hoopla is focused around artificial intelligence as it relates to like the fun shit we do, like creating music and art and 3D models and all that kind of stuff. But there are entire industries being formulated around ChatGPT and its functionality. There are people making significant sums of money who are really tapping into the AI tech and utilizing it to achieve things they couldn't otherwise do on their own. And now they're able to do things that a staff of 10 people would typically have to do. What are we all supposed to be doing with our extra time as continuous numbers of jobs are being lost due to AI technology? I'm not necessarily saying that that's a bad or terrible thing. I'm not. It is, but I understand it. The world is going to continue to evolve. But as the world continues to evolve in this digital place of information and monitoring and advertising and basically the control of human thought and the censorship of X in favor of Y, and you know, we all know we love our echo chambers, right? We have our trains of thought and the things that we believe, and when we vocalize that, our phones pick up on it, and then it shows us videos that basically become an algorithmic echo chamber for what we already seem to think and believe. And then it continues to perpetuate these narratives to ourselves, which we then perpetuate to other people, and it all spreads kind of like a virus, right? And we seemingly have two different forces opposing each other in this grand scheme. And I think to myself, something like midnight and everything I just read here will play a role in a lot of that, or could play a role in a lot of that. What do we see? Bill Gates buying up a ton of farmland, and the way carbon credits are distributed and how that works as it relates to farmland. And we see the government buying all of these different farms and buying up all the crops of these farms. And it's just like, they're obviously trying to control food supply for some reason. We obviously saw what kind of dramatic effect a disruption to the distribution channels of all products, goods, and services during Rona. We saw how dramatic an effect that was. What was the reason for all of these things to be so affected, if not for kind of a reboot in how the systems operate, not only in this country, but in countries abroad all over the world? Because there are many countries that are kind of towing the line of a lot of these narratives that have been put into place, and who is to actually benefit from them. And when a lot of this stuff really starts coming down the pipe, I'm telling you, and I've said this a million times, when technology such as these CBDCs and these like kind of monitoring protocols come into play, who's going to be the first to line up for that? It's going to be the poor. It's going to be the people that are begging and really need this government assistance to stay afloat in a world that's far surpassing their ability to keep up, especially in the technology sector. So I think it's like, well, if you want to play with these big boys and you know what technologies and what demands are going to be in play on not just national, but international scales, do you develop a technology that can cater to that and become somebody in control of it, and control of its development and what its use cases can be and how beneficial it can be, not just to you, but everyone? Or do you let somebody else do it? And I guess that's where my struggle is, because all these things are going to happen whether you want it to or not. It doesn't matter if we agree with it. It doesn't matter what our personal opinions are. And it really doesn't even matter who's elected into political office. All these things are happening. Whether you like them or not, whether you vote for them or not, doesn't matter. Majority vote against or for, it does not matter. This shit is all happening because the people that have the control and the people that are capable of ushering in these technologies and how the worlds work, they're going to make it happen with or without your support. So I guess the question is do you want to be a part of the devil you know or the devil you don't? And so then my question is, when I listen to guys like Charles Hoskinson speak, and he's very adamant, like I just saw him endorse RFK Jr. Fair enough. I like RFK Jr. a lot. He's not going to be president, but I like him. I like his message, and I like the work he does. And I like the way he vocalizes things, maybe not necessarily in tone, but in spirit. I really like RFK a lot. So Charles and I agree a lot on that. And there are definitely reasons why, RFK's original party was basically trying to keep him out of the contest. They don't want him hurting Biden because Biden is great because he does what he's told. He goes where he's led, and he signs what he's handed. And, there's just no muss, no fuss with Biden. Of course, they want to keep him in office. He's probably the easiest president they've ever had to usher in a lot of the stuff that we're seeing that maybe, let's just say half of us don't agree with. But that's my point. One way or another, they're going to figure out how to get this stuff in play. So when I look at Cardano and I look at Midnight and I look at Charles, and I think to myself, well, Charles says a lot of this stuff where he's adamantly against a lot of these things. Is the technology that he's spearheading, is that all to help facilitate the things that he's against, or is there something else going on? And I guess that's where my eyes are. And I'd love to talk to Charles about it. Because this to me is eye-opening, and listen, it is what it is, but yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, this does give me pause a little bit, but I guess it's one of those things. It's like you've got one guy building all of this blockchain tech that could ultimately facilitate a lot of the things many of us are afraid of. And then you've got another guy who's buying up every industry in the world that matters, such as SpaceX and Tesla and social media and everything. And ultimately, we're gonna be in a place where just a handful of people literally control every facet of our human lives. And so the question is what are the actual goals and objectives of these individuals? What are their political stances? Not just political stances, but what are their stances as it relates to humanity as a whole? And how is any of this stuff actually meant to benefit us as individuals and retain our individual freedoms, our rights, our liberties? Especially at a time when groups like the WHO are ultimately trying to set themselves up to be able to just turn it all off at a whim. Somebody farted, it could be infectious. Let's call for an international emergency and shut down all civil liberties overnight. That's what they're ultimately trying to do. That scares the shit out of me. All right. So I guess we will go ahead and look at some of the questions here and see what you guys think. I was not intending on getting into a lot of this stuff today, but that's what happens when I go live. I guess that's but there are going to be people here that like agree with me, people that don't agree, and that's absolutely a-okay. I like Pat David over at Valuetainment. He loves to talk to people that disagree with him. I do too. I love talking to people that disagree with me. The problem is that generally when somebody disagrees with me and my logical thought, they can't really back up anything that they understand or believe to be true with actual facts. Without getting irate or rageful or angry or spiteful or insulting. And that really does suck. It sucks for guys like me who are just constantly looking for answers and looking for truth. And the people that oppose you the most had the least to actually say. And so I say, bring it. I would go live. I've even offered a friend of mine who's just hardcore, diehard, like just TDS out the wazoo, believes everything the media tells him, thinks the world is great, thinks everything's going well. He's making money, so everything's great. And it's just like, dude, you're like a 1 in a million case. But, those are the people that live it by delusion. And when you challenge them and you really state facts and cite real matters at hand, They don't know what to tell you. They just go quiet or they get angry because they don't want their delusions burst with facts. Facts hurt people like that. And it reminds me of that movie Con Air. Oh gosh, I forget the guy's name. He was in Con Air. He's the skinny guy. I think he's a certified genius. He's got kind of crooked teeth, but I love the guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm just trying to describe him. I mean, he's a rich actor. He can afford to do anything he wants with his teeth. But anyway, you guys probably know, and he played the guy that everybody was afraid of, right? When he first enters the scene, he's got the face mask and everything, and he's basically a psychopath. And when they were describing him, I think one of the guards or something was basically saying, to him, pleasure is pain. Like, he's so mental and he's so twisted that clarity of thought or peace of mind actually gives him pain. And I think that to some extent, that's how some of these people, I believe, structure their belief systems. They're in a constant state of fear and anxiety and self-doubt, while also followed up with a significant amount of ignorance and arrogance. And that ego causes them to retain and maintain a stance on things that really have no support or merit outside of like media narratives, headlines, and propaganda. And it's like they take a little piece of something that should benefit mankind, should help everyone, should do something, but it's always used for something far more nefarious. But it garners support by these false narratives and things that basically hook people in and don't let them go. And it's sad, but $8 to $15, we'll see. All right, here we go with some questions. Let's go ahead and just chime into this stuff. Crow, are you going to use USDM instead of USDC or USDT when you want to transfer into a stable coin? Not at the moment, I'm not. I don't generally do. Typically, I do use USDC if I'm going to use a stable coin for anything. And if I have no choice, I'll use USDT. It just kind of depends on what platform I'm on and what I'm doing and for how long I plan to have any assets in a stable coin, which generally is not long at all, more than a day or really even a few hours. So yeah, I just don't bother with a lot of it unless it's an absolute necessity. What do you think about Indigo protocol? I think I covered it once a long time ago, but honestly, it's been so long I don't remember anything. I might have to dive into that and take a look at another time. I think $5 to $6 this cycle. I'm still rooting for $8, and it could even wick much, much higher. Crow, do you show what you do on your fair desk trades anywhere? I'm in a long trade right now. I watched my long trade go down negative. I do show them. Typically, I was showing them rather consistently on my Ko-Fi account, which you could subscribe to free. You can download my PDF getting started book that I wrote. It's kind of like a magazine style thing, and you can download it for free, and you can leave a donation if you want. You can download the full version of the Crow Your Coins theme song. You can download that for free, available. I used to have that link up a lot. I think there's a link in the description below. I can't even remember if it's there, but check it out. I probably will. Here's the thing. When I'm actively trading every day, I do share my trades, but lately, I would say for the past few weeks, I've been just talking about them here and there on the channel because I've been more swing trading than day trading because I've been so busy with my game and with everything else going on. Obviously, my wife's play has been taking up a lot of my time. We're producing a play together that we're debuting. It's a one night only thing. It's going to be badass though. I'm debating on recording it. But we're actually licensing songs that are going to be performed to during this play. That's not cheap. I mean, I'm doing a lot of stuff. It's like it's basically a lifelong dream of my wife, and I'm trying to support her and her dreams, and her dreams become my dreams, and we're just kind of going hard on this. And I've been really busy. And so, yeah, I haven't been actively trading as much as I normally would, but I will say that I am going to start tapping into Trade Travel Chill's Discord on a more regular basis. And I do plan on getting more active in trading again here soon. Yeah. New green screen back there. No, this is not green screen. This is actually just a cloth thing I threw up because I like the lighting on me and the way I look when I don't have everything lit like the sun because of the green screen. So I just threw something else back there, but I do plan on getting back to doing some green screen stuff, but it's just difficult to do in this office because it's much smaller, and the way you're supposed to properly light green screen, you kind of need a lot of space. Crow should just do a spelling bee at the next Karate Combat. What? I did send Dave over at Karate Combat. I said, hey, I'm ready to replace Mike anytime you want, and I'll give you comedy and actual fight knowledge. You know, and he just kind of chuckled. But I would love to do commentary for Karate Combat. I would be able to cover fighting. I would be able to cover blockchain. I'd be able to cover all kinds of stuff, and I'd probably be pretty damn funny, especially if I had a couple scotches before we went live. I can actually be a funny guy, believe it or not. I'm not always serious all the time. Cardano is like a freight train starting to accelerate down the tracks. Once it gets up to top speed, there will be no avoiding or stopping it. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I absolutely agree. The question is what direction is the train going? And you know, maybe, you know, I know Midnight's a side chain, and Midnight's being developed with very specific use cases in mind, obviously, which we've covered here. And so, you know, I guess that's the real question. What are they doing and why? And, you know, we'll have to wait and see. Will you create a Wargrim coin for the game release? I think we're going to basically focus on building this on Cardano to utilize ADA primarily. And then we're going to have supportive elements that are going to utilize Crow token. I don't think I don't really think there's a need to create a new token around Wargrim. Like when you mint booster packs, you're going to mint booster packs with ADA, right? Now we may utilize Crow token within the game for maybe buying exclusive items, exclusive cards. Maybe you'll be able to use Crow tokens to buy animated variants to cards, as well as earn them through playing. There's so many different elements to this that we're still working on, but right now we're trying to get the playable MVP playable without bugs, and then we're going to bring in a lot of the new animations and stuff, and then we're going to basically get that out to people and start adding a lot of really cool stuff as it relates to Wargrim and Crow coin or Crow token and everything else. So yeah. He owes you an interview. Yeah, the last time I interviewed Charles, man, he was in a car with a really choppy connection, and he really didn't seem like, I mean, it just ultimately fell apart, and I just concluded it. And you know, I really don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've seen people on social media really kind of back me. And sometimes even go after Charles, because it seems like he kind of neglects, like, basically the guy who, you know, was really one of the only major voices in YouTube crypto at a time when nobody was paying attention, nobody cared, and if anybody did care, it was to basically dump all over Cardano. And now that it's grown and it's done better, and there are so many different people talking about Cardano now, it's like I've kind of gone to the wayside, and you know. It is what it is. But I do feel like Charles should definitely be coming on live and letting me, you know, talk to him for you guys on a more regular basis than we do. And but you know, he's busy. He's doing a lot of other podcasts, and he loves to do his own podcast. And you know, it's like I have a weird relationship with Charles. Like it's no secret I do. And it's like I don't always say things I'm sure Charles loves. I mean, I know that. I don't necessarily think he's petty to the point where, you know, he'll see me talking and be like, oh, that asshole, I'm going to ignore him. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think he knows that my passion is very much focused around Cardano and what he's building and everything. But I speak my mind. Like, that's it. That's kind of part of the nature of freedom of speech. You don't have to agree with me. You don't even have to like what I say. But I think if you recognize the fact that my heart is absolutely always in the right place, and definitely coming from a place that's to benefit everyone involved, then you kind of have to overlook the fact that I just speak my mind. And sometimes it's just a brain fart. And sometimes it's not always to stroke an ego or or whatever. I call it as I see it, and it is what it is, and we move forward and we learn from everything, and hopefully we learn from everything together. That's kind of the whole point. What it is that we already give up this info freely. Midnight will allow us to control what the requester is able to see. Doug Nasty, hey man, I hope so. And that could very well be the case. Maybe they're trying to build a system that shows how they can facilitate all of these more kind of global elite interests, while also basically saying, hey, we're still we're building this to actually protect the end user as well, not just facilitate the needs of those in power or whatever. So yeah, we'll see. Unfortunately, a lot of this stuff is to be compliant with our government. And that's the other side to this, right? If you're trying to build something to effectively utilize all of these different use case potentials on the blockchain, you have to build it in a way that's going to be compliant, or the government's just going to figure out a way to get rid of you anyway. So, it's almost like a double-edged sword, right? If you want to become, the blockchain for true economic and global use, in an endless number of use cases, well, you have to build it in a way that the government's going to look at it and say, all right, cool. As long as we know what's going on. It's almost like, it's almost like a marriage, right? It's like, absolutely, I trust you. Absolutely. As long as I know where you're at, what's happening, that's all good. You know what I mean? You want to go on a trip to wherever to do whatever. All right, cool. I got work to do, but go ahead. Just keep me posted on what's happening. And it's almost like this mutual compliance thing where it's like, trust but verify to an extent. I'm not saying that in a marriage. I trust my wife implicitly. We trust each other completely. We have no secrets whatsoever. But I understand, like in a lot of marriages or a lot of relationships, regardless, even an employee-employer relationship, you might have a more autonomous kind of job, and they say, okay, you know what, we're not going to watch over you. You don't have to punch a time clock, but we just want to know what you're doing, and we want to see the fruits of that effort because we want to know what we're paying for. And so, listen, there are two sides to everything. So oftentimes there are 3 or 4 sides to everything. The truth is typically somewhere in the middle, and it's not generally readily available to the public for perception. So Crow was talking IoT for a couple of years and got me into it. IoTex just got a $50 million investment. Yeah, I mean, listen, Internet of Things is the next big wave. I mean, right now it's meme tokens, and at some point it's going to transition into Internet of Things. And I think Internet of Things and real world assets are going to be the 2030 market. I mean, I really do believe that that's going to be what dictates a lot of the price action in the 2030 market. So, like, once we peak out in this market cycle, we're going to see where we go. Do we keep trending up? Is this a 10-year super cycle? Like, what is this? Do we drop? Do we go down and give the opportunity for the big institutions to buy up all the exit liquidity of everybody that's dumping their coins at what might even become a fake peak, if you will? So we'll have to see, but I definitely think that there's going to be a lot of really interesting transitions. I say we get Crow and BitBoy in a cage and see what happens. It's funny. At one point he was like, I think I could hang with Crow. I think I could last a round or two or something to that effect. And then after our fights, I asked him if he still wanted to fight me, and he's like, hell no. Not if you're going to do that. Not if you're going to do what you just did to me. Hell no. So I think he came to his senses a little bit. That's the thing. A lot of people think that just because I'm really nice and I'm really emotional and I have a lot of love for people and all of that I can't do damage. It's like, no, I can. I'm very capable. I just prefer not to. I don't like hurting anybody. It really does make me feel like shit inside. And I think there are a lot of people who are kind of like adrenaline junkies, and they love that rush, that all of that shit that just comes into you. And, some people, it makes you feel invincible. To me, it just makes me feel sick. I really don't like that kind of buildup in adrenaline. It made me feel sick. And like, yeah, listen, BitBoy's made a lot of mistakes, man. I mean, and I've told him directly, I tell you, he understands it. He understands and appreciates my stance on things. But it's like, I don't know. Everybody makes mistakes. I think it's not necessarily the mistakes that are made. It's more about how do we learn from them, and what do we gain, and what do those around us gain once we've learned from those mistakes? At least that's the way I look at things. But my wife tells me I'm always super naive. I'm far too trusting. I'm far too forgiving. I just think I'm at a point in my life, man, where it's like, if I spend my entire life calling everyone out that makes mistakes, I would never get anything else done. And I don't really have it in me to maintain that kind of toxicity. I prefer to just let things go and just hope people learn, over time. I think we all know how that cage match would end. Yeah, there is definitely a part of me. There is a part of me that would love to just train every day and really get in a significant, like, hardcore fight shape and make a run. I actually messaged Sam Alvey, and because there was a part of me, I was reading a lot of the comments about my fight with Moon Daddy, and even though I look like I towered over him and I made him look like a small child, he's 6'5", 230 pounds. Like, he's a big fucking dude, people. And I just happen to be bigger. Like, and the reality is size really, it does matter to an extent. But I am not saying any of this to clown on Moon Daddy whatsoever, but I was definitely not trying to go after him in that fight in any way, shape, or form. To me, it was a decision as to, like, okay, the first fight jitters are really getting to him. I can tell. I could either chew him up and, like, really fuck up his legs and his body and just try to, like, drag this out and put on a show, which to me was not good for either of us, or I could just end it and we call it a night and go drinking. But I really didn't get to demonstrate. I'm a lot quicker than a lot of you guys would think. Like, if you saw me, like, if I'm doing pad work or whatever, I might look a little slow, but I'm just doing pad work. I'm not really just like zip, zip, zip. But, like, in a spur of the moment, like, combat kind of situation, I'm actually a hell of a lot quicker than I look like I should be. And I'm a lot more capable than you'd think I should be for someone my size. So it's like, but I don't really look at myself as a fighter at all. I look at myself as somebody who can fight. I've trained to do it, but it's not something I really like. And I thought, you know what, if I were to ever do another fight, and a really, really, truly competitive fight, that it would have to be against somebody like a Sam Alvey or somebody that can stand toe to toe with me. But man, that guy's got like 50, 60 fights. I mean, and he's a beast, but I sent him a message on Twitter. And I was like, listen, if I ever did decide to make a comeback or to fight again for Karate Combat, would you be interested? And he was just like, dude, that sounds like a hell of a lot of fun. It's just like, he has no fucks to give. Like, I think he would fight Godzilla and smile the whole way through. And then I did see his recent fight and how it ended. And he basically got headbutted in a really dramatic way that kind of sent him out. And I'm like, well, that's a really shitty way. And it was accurately called as a no contest. And I think they're going to run that back. But it's just like, in order for me to train somebody, or in order for me to fight somebody on a caliber that I feel I should be fighting, I really would have to train for it. And I don't think you guys realize the training for me is what's brutal. The fight itself is nothing. What people don't realize is when you watch two guys fight, I don't care what that fight looks like, or generally like 90% of them end in a way that is far less damaging than any of the training they actually succumbed and went through to prepare for that fight. And that's the thing that gets me, man. It's like, hey, I'm so busy, and I just, I don't know, but I love Ramel, man, and he really earned a lot of respect from me. And lo and behold, man, like, his Kulo token just went to the freaking moon after that fight. And it's come back down, obviously, with everything else correcting in the market. And it does look like Bitcoin just, looking at an hourly candle, it looks like Bitcoin just bounced off of the 200 moving average resistance, and it's come back down a little bit. So I don't know if we're gonna, settle. Maybe we bounce off of the 50 moving average on an hourly and then work our way back up and we break through the 200. But that's basically what I'm watching right now, and I'm just staying in my long. We'll see what happens. Wonder what will happen to the price of Sol once all these meme coins crash. I don't know. Maybe they'll find another gimmick. I don't know. But yeah, that's definitely what's pumping this. Because when you're talking about technology where the majority of the transactions fail and you just have so many technical issues, what could send the price up other than meme coins where it just doesn't really matter that much, right? I don't see anybody really utilizing something like Solana for any real significant important use case. I just don't. I'm sorry, but you know what? Number go up right now, and that's all that really matters to folks. So, enjoy it while it lasts. I mean, I do think that there's going to come a time where Solana hits a wall, and once it hits that wall, the majority holders are really they're gonna do some damage to everyone else that's riding this train. So, I saw that there was somebody like tipped or something, and I want to see everyone smash the like and show the love to Crow. I appreciate that. Is it Risto? How do you pronounce that name? Risto Donalov. Foreign names to me are foreign names to me. I'm geographically challenged, and I'm challenged. Somebody did $5 for something, and I want to see what they said. There it is. It's Risto. Bird Dog on Solana is the 5th member of the Boys Club of Pepe. Please have a look and give us your opinion. Thanks of Ada in 2019. Crow your coin. Well, cool. Thank you for that. And I'm really honestly not 100% sure what you just said, if I'm very blunt. Bird Dog on Solana is the 5th member of the Boys Club of Pepe. So I'm guessing somebody from the Pepe team launched something. All right. Crow would step on BitBoy. Listen, man, I don't care what anybody has to say about Ben. Like, he fought his absolute heart and soul out in that fight. And, I mean, what else can you say? I mean, I feel like Ben didn't just fight for, and there's a new IFC, there's a new fight card coming that I'm actually excited about, man. I was watching this girl. I don't know who she is. She's beautiful, but she's also just nasty. She's in Thailand right now training, and I'm like, her hands and footwork are so crisp and look so good. And I'm just like, ooh, man, I don't know who she's fighting, but I don't know. Something tells me that her opponent might pull out. She's only got like 2,000 subs on Twitter. I don't think she's very big, but she looked really, really good, and hopefully this fight helps propel her. I'm like, you know what? I don't think she's a Cardano girl, but she probably should be. That way we get like a badass in the Cardano girls mix. How's that? One leg kick and Ben is lipping right out of that ring. To be fair, I'd crumble and tap. It's funny. A guy, an old bodybuilder friend of mine who used to train me back when I lived in Cincinnati, and I saw him comment on the video, and he's like, I felt one of those leg kicks. I know how nasty that is. And I'm like, you got a 10% demo, like on a day we were training. And this dude, he's big. He's a big bodybuilder guy. And I think he's a doctor now too. And he was rolling around the floor, like screaming in agony. Like I tried to fucking kill him. And I'm like, dude, I literally gave you a 10% little tap. And I'm like, I really kicked Moon Daddy. Like I kicked him twice. The first one was awkward. And it was just like straight across the top. And like even my body framing was really weird for that kick. Honestly, because I was trying to do it in a way that wasn't going to like take him out, but that he'd feel it, and he didn't flinch. And then I kicked him again. And it wasn't super like clean, but it was damaging. He didn't flinch. He just ate everything. And I'm like, okay. Now he told me he didn't walk for like 3 weeks. He was walking really weird for like 3 weeks after the fight. I think he said something. Oh, his ear is still hurting. He said something to me like a few days ago. I'm like, my hand is still hurting. My knuckle, my hand, when I grab things, my hand is still messed up. And I told him, like, dude, you realize I wasn't even trying to knock you out with that shot, man. I was just trying to connect from a distance, and like it just ended that way. I mean, and he's like, well, my ear's still fucked up. And, I'm like, my hand's still messed up too. So it is what it is. But when your adrenaline's running, man, I tell everybody, you don't feel anything until the next day. It doesn't really matter what happens. Like when Ramel kicked me in my shin and my ankle, boy, I felt that for a week, and it didn't look like it was anything. But boy, I tell you what, it felt like at the time, it felt like a bug like bounced off of my leg. But boy, I tell you what, the next day I was feeling that shit for probably a good solid week. I was hurting. So yeah, when your adrenaline's going and you're focused and all of that, it's just like you almost feel superhuman. You should take a look at Minutes Network. Why is that ringing a bell with me? Thanks for the tip. I appreciate it. Maybe I'll take a look at that. So we are just about hitting in an hour, and I don't want to go much longer because I do want to get some. Maybe I'll just go live tomorrow around the same time, and maybe I'll go live a little earlier, and we'll cover some of this other stuff because I've got some stuff on Solana that I'd like to cover. Maybe I'll cover Solana and the Ethereum story tomorrow live, and I'll do those together the way I kind of blended these two midnight write-ups. So listen, folks, thanks for joining me. It is Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday, so we're going to do a big video live tomorrow. I think that's what we're going to do, and we'll sign you off for the weekend. And until next time, thanks for joining me. Make sure you hit the subscribe. And make sure you hit the like, make sure you retweet, you share, you comment. You basically spend the next hour evolving around my personal needs so that I grow on YouTube. That's all I care about. That's all I care about. But until next time, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks, guys.